There's an old saying my granddad used to swear by: don't pick a fight with a rancher on his own dirt unless you're ready to eat that dirt yourself. Folks in my neck of Texas still nod to that wisdom, though apparently nobody bothered to pass it down to a woman named Tina Mallory, fresh from Austin, clipboard always in hand, and a mouth that never seemed to stay shut. My name's Colton Briggs. I run 500 acres of cattle pasture my granddad carved out after World War II. Land that's fed 3 generations and paid for more school roofs and county roads than half the city taxes combined. And last year, I found myself squaring off with an HOA, so clueless they tried to evict me from my own land, and learned the hard way that this old blue shirt and beat-up truck mean I know more law than they do. See, life was peaceful till Pine Hollow Estates sprouted up across my south fence line. 40-something fresh-painted houses, matching mailboxes. Folks who measure their grass blades with rulers and brag about community barbecues that cost $20 a plate. I figured, let M play mayor and mow in neat lines. I'll just keep feeding cows and fixing fences. But then Tina moved in, young, red sweater with holes made to look authentic, second-hand boots pretending to be ranch chic. She got herself elected HOA chair before half her neighbors learned her last name, and it didn't take long before she decided my cows and I were what's wrong with her picture-perfect kingdom. First time she cornered me, I was lifting feed bags into my flatbed behind Cooper's General Store. She smiled that tight, overly polite smile you see on people who think they're smarter than the rest of us, stuck out a clipboard like it was a sheriff's badge and chirped, "Mr. Briggs? I'm Tina Mallory, Pine Hollow HOA president. We have some concerns about your operation." She drew out operation like I was cooking meth instead of raising beef. I paused, leaned an elbow on the truck bed, and told her calm as you please, "Ma'am, that smell you complain about? Paid for that store you just left with your Starbucks, and the elementary school your kid probably attends. You're welcome." She didn't like that much. 3 days later, I get an envelope in my mailbox, official letterhead, HOA seal, a whole page of made-up violations, air quality concerns, noise ordinances. Something about environmental impact studies that don't exist outside of City Hall PowerPoints. And at the bottom, a line that made my neck get warm. Failure to comply may result in legal action to protect our community's rights. Next thing I know, there's cars creeping along my fence line. Folks poking cameras through the wire like they're gonna catch a cow snorting pollution straight into their baby's window. Even Lois Whitaker, who's lived next door to my family since I was born, whispered she'd seen strangers measuring distance from my hay barn to their fancy backyards. I wasn't angry so much as I was insulted. Tina was whipping up a crowd who didn't know squat about cows, dirt, or the law, and she was banking on me rolling over. What she didn't know was that my granddad didn't raise pushovers. So while she rallied Pine Hollow on Facebook with blurry photos of my cattle and dramatic captions like, "Is this safe for our children?" I went digging in the old roll-top desk my granddad left me when he passed. I hadn't opened half those folders since high school. Tax receipts yellowed with age, vet bills from 1984, and then gold. Original land surveys, handwritten letters from the county back in the 60s and 80s, proving my family never sold the patch Pine Hollow's parking lot and main road we're sitting on. That land? Still mine on paper and by the law of the state of Texas. So I played polite a while longer. When Tina and her sidekick Derek showed up at my gate to serve notice of violation, like I was a tenant behind on rent, I accepted the envelope, nodded real nice, and said, "I reckon we'll let the county sort this out, ma'am. Y'all have a blessed day." Then I called Jim Crawford, best agricultural lawyer within 2 counties. When Jim read those survey papers and saw Tina's phony violations, he laughed so hard I thought he'd choke on his donut. He said, "Colton, you just brought a bazooka to a pillow fight." Next up, I hired Mark Henderson, local surveyor everyone trusts when it comes to boundary lines. He came out with his GPS gear, flagged every foot of fence line, and, most importantly, spray-painted bright orange stakes where Pine Hollow's parking lot bled deep into Briggs Ranch land. When I saw that stretch of asphalt and minivans on my dirt, well, that's when I knew exactly how I'd handle Tina. I ordered custom private property, no trespassing signs, big and shiny, bolted into 4x4s sunk deep enough to withstand a Texas tornado. I mailed every homeowner in Pine Hollow a notice. Their HOA had been letting them park rent-free on land my cows used to graze, but that grace was over. From now on, if they wanted to keep their cars close to their houses, they'd pay $400 a month per household, or walk a couple football fields from the nearest public road. Legal? Damn right. Jim made sure of that. Tina hit back fast, called an emergency HOA meeting at the community center, invited the local news, and had the nerve to claim I was blackmailing working families. I walked in mid-speech, wearing my everyday work jacket, and dropped Mark Henderson's survey map and a clean bill of health from the county inspector right on our slideshow table. I told him plain. This ranch predates every single house in this room, and according to your signed deeds, y'all agreed to respect it when you moved in. You want to park on my dirt? Pay up like you pay your water bill. Folks gasped. Carol Jenkins, HOA secretary, stood up shaking, confessed she'd been recording all Tina's hush-hush meetings, and started reading aloud just how much Tina had lied about me, about phantom health violations, about who paid which lawyer from HOA funds. Half the room turned on Tina before she even dropped her clipboard. By week's end, the Attorney General's office had a fraud complaint on Tina's fancy front door. She was behind on her mortgage, losing the HOA presidency she worshipped, and guess what? That same crowd she'd stirred up to hate me was now apologizing in my driveway, handing me apple pies, asking if their kids could pet the calves someday. I didn't gloat. Well, maybe I did a little, watching Tina's moving van pull away while I sipped black coffee on my porch. I still see that parking lot every morning, lined with cars whose owners now pay me monthly, polite as Sunday churchgoers. The money goes straight back into better roads, new security lights, and a county AG program to teach kids how ranching really works. Tina sent me a letter once, handwritten apology, asked me to forgive her for the mess. I did, in my own way. Not because she deserved it, but because it reminded the whole neighborhood that out here, respect runs deeper than pavement. You stand up for what's yours. And sometimes you have to fight with paperwork instead of pitchforks. Either way, Texas land answers to Texas families, not to HOAs and clipboards. So, that's my story. If you ever wonder how far a rancher will go to defend the dirt his granddad bled for, well, now you know. And if you've tangled with a busybody HOA thinking they own more than they do, drop your story in the comments. Trust me, this rancher reads every word, just in case the next Tina shows up thinking Texas dirt is free for the taking.